Hello, friends. Today we'll be talking about the Indian National Congress. But before we begin, I would ask all of you to excuse me for this bad voice. It's just because I'm down in flu, a serious sort of sinus infection, and it was this reason that I couldn't post, regular videos. However, I'll try my best to do so from now on. Okay, so let's begin. The Indian National Congress. It was founded in the year 1885. Now we see that after the revolt of 1857, there was a dire need, an urgent need for a platform that could voice the opinion of the Indian population, and that is why the Indian National Congress was formed. If we look at the various reasons one by one, let's discuss each of them. India was run by the British, and the British were running India according to their interests. Indians had very few opportunities in the political arena, in education, in all the other fields of the society. They were given less or no representation in the councils. And after the revolt of 1857, the British took every measure to suppress the Indian population and to curtail them. So for that, a vernacular act was passed by the British in 1878, which was to put a ban or control on the newspapers that was voicing any sort of negative opinion against the British. In 1878, and that is the same year, they passed an Arms Act that was to prevent the Indians from owning weapons. In 1866, as a reaction to all these suppressive measures, we see Raji Narayan Bose, he founded a society which was to promote the nationalistic feelings. So from now on, we see that when there are suppressive measures from one side, and on the other side, we see the rise of patriotic or nationalistic feelings. So, like how we studied in physics, to every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So, the British, they were coming forth with suppressive measures, and the Indian population, they were coming forth with rising feelings of patriotism and nationalism. In 1867, we see a Hindu Mela being organized in Bengal, and finally, we see many political groups, coming into being. So, like for example, Saravajanik Sabha, which was founded in 1870, and finally in 1885, the formation of Indian National Congress. Now let us look at the events, the main events or the specific events which resulted in the formation of the Indian National Congress. In 1883, an Indian association, it suggested that a political body should be formed for the Indians to represent their views, and then a similar suggestion came forth from a British member of the parliament who wrote an article in the Times newspaper where he suggested that the Indians needed an organization of their own. Then we see that a former member of the ICS by the name of Alan Octavian Hume, he writes a letter to the graduates of the Calcutta University urging them to establish a political organization of their own. But Hume did not just stop there, but he went on to, take some practical measures and establish the Indian National Union, and several branches of this union were opened up in several cities, and this entire project, it received support from the British then Viceroy, who was Lord Dufferin. Lord Dufferin was extending his support to this idea because he thought that it would act as a safety valve and prevent an event like the revolt of 1857 from repeating, and this platform or this organization would become a platform for the Indians to vent out their hatred, their rising negativity, and prevent atrocity, prevent the society from turning hostile. Then on the 28th of December 1883, we see that two conferences are held of this body, the Indian National Union. The first conference was held in Bombay, and the second one was held at Calcutta. And both these conferences were held under the name of the INC, that is the Indian National Congress. This was where the Indian National Congress, actually was born. Then, initially, when it was born, it was loyal to the British, meaning it had at its aim staying loyal to the British goals, British, Raj, and its main aim was just to widen the political framework, that is, to incorporate more Indians into the functioning of the government of India. Then a second meeting of the Congress was held in 1886, and by then Congress had around 436 delegates. So you see, this is a remarkable achievement because in just 1 year we see the rise or the number of candidates rising to 436. Now, looking at the aims or the basic, reason why INC or the Indian National Congress was established, there are two main reasons. Number one, if you're asked a question of this sort, so you can write these two reasons down. The first was to educate the public, both in India and Britain, and for that, its resolutions they were all printed in paper. And secondly, the main aim of this INC was to make the British end all their unfair practices and to increase the Indian representation in the ICS or the Indian Civil Services and all the other legislative councils, meaning just to widen, like I earlier mentioned, the political framework and include more Indians in the government. But whether INC failed or not, that's a separate topic because we'll have to look at the whole picture then. That is till the formation of Pakistan, that is 1947, whether Indian National Congress was successful or not in all of its aims and what all uh, the events that will take place later on. We'll have to see what role INC played in all those events. But right now, where we stand, if we look at the immediate result, was it successful in these aims? It was not. I'm talking about the year 1885 and after the events that took place after those after that particular year. So it failed in the introduction of the Indian Councils Act. And what was this Councils Act of 1892? That was to increase the Indians in the councils. Okay, this Councils Act was introduced in order to increase the number of Indians in the councils. That is, to increase the number of Indians in the government of India. But they failed. INC failed. Indian National Congress failed, and Indian National Congress was soon, ignored by the British. And when it started to get sidelined, this resulted in dividing the society, Indian society, into two fragments. One side we see the rise of the moderates. Who are the moderates? The moderates are those people, who felt that the British were fair and the British rule had been very beneficial for the Indian population because they had come up with education, they had come up with a proper system, technology, had introduced justice, law and order into the society. So nothing should be done. They should not be pushed away. The only thing that needs to be done is to protest peacefully against the negative measures which the British government is taking against the Indian population, and that's it. But on the other side, we see that the society started to become radical, or radical is just the opposite of the moderates, where they started, there started an ideology which is called as radical nationalism. These people were not content with the British rule. They wanted freedom. They talked about freedom, freedom from subjugation, freedom from foreign rule. They wanted an India that was free from any foreign domination. That is an India before 1600 when the British East India Company came to India. So we see there were many leaders like Bal Gangadhar Tilak and other leaders, who started off with, speeches in which they talked about freedom. They started igniting the fire of freedom, the light of freedom in the hearts of the Indian population, and a lot of secret societies they started to sprung up, and there were assassination attempts that were made on the officers, on British officers. Some of them were successful, some of them were not. But looking at all of these events, the British had to take some measures. So as a result of this, we see the direct result of this Indian National Congress and the radicalization of the Indian society was the partition of Bengal, and partition of Bengal we know took place in the year 1905. Right? So with this we conclude. We discussed what all did we discuss? We discussed Indian National Congress. Why was there a need for the formation of an organization of this sort? Then we discussed how was it formed, the specific events which resulted into the creation of this organization. Then we also looked at the aftermath, the immediate aftermath of the formation of this organization, and also we talked about the basic two reasons or the aims for the establishment of the INC. I hope this video was beneficial. Till my next video, I'm Nida Umar signing off. Take care of yourselves and of your loved ones. Bye bye.